This is a Title I supplementary module for ELA, focusing upon the argumentative genre in writing a thesis or a claim statement. The objective of this lesson is to create a claim to prove within argumentative writing. The Common Core Standard Assessed is Writing 11 to 12.1. Write arguments to support claims in an analysis of substantive topics or texts using valid reasoning and relative insufficient evidence. This lesson will focus on the first part, supporting claims, in order to develop that claim. The teaching point focuses upon the idea that writers refer to opinions as claims and facts as evidence. The claim clearly states a stance on a topic or issue. Here are a few sources you can consult to look at the need for strong thesis statements within writing. The pre-skills your students will need in order to successfully complete this lesson is the knowledge of the purpose of argumentative writing, an ability to develop a topic in order to write a more specific and narrow claim, familiarity with formal voice, and familiarity with writing workshop format. You will need to have copies of handouts developing strong thesis statements, and is this a strong thesis statement for each of your students? You should plan on having them read and mark up each handout. Students will therefore need a writing utensil and perhaps a highlighter, and for the final assessment, students will also need an index card. The teacher modeling and guided practice will take you 20 minutes. First, you start by reading and marking the handout, Developing Strong Thesis Statements. This is an image of the first page. Together, you want to show your students what they should focus on when writing a claim and when looking for important information in an informational piece. Then, you'll examine the handout, Is this a strong thesis statement, together. As a group, you will work on completing numbers 1 through 3 together, which are shown here on this slide. You need to read each thesis statement and then analyze whether this is a strong claim and what makes it a strong claim, or if this is something that needs to be rewritten and why it does not work as a claim statement. For instance, your student should recognize that number 3, this paper will prove that diet pop is unhealthier than regular pop, is not a strong thesis statement. However, many students start by writing this type of a claim. Therefore, you would need to work with your students to analyze and explain why number 3 is not an appropriate thesis statement. Once you've completed 1 through 3 together, have your students individually finish, Is this a strong thesis statement? Then, correct each of the items together, discussing and elaborating as needed. Students will then have 10 minutes for the active engagement, in which they either work in small groups or partnerships chosen by the topic focus. Students will then write a thesis statement for each individual topic, and the group will come together, choose one thesis statement, and analyze it for the characteristics of a strong thesis statement. You as the teacher should be going around the room listening to the conversations and the thesis statements that your students have created. Finally, for the formative assessments, have students write a thesis statement for their individual topic of the argumentative writing on an index card. You can collect these when your students leave class and go over them that evening. You should then hand back the thesis statements with comments regarding changes that may need to be made or the strengths of the thesis statement upon students' arrival in your class the next day. Purdue's Online Writing Lab has a great resource for you to focus upon the idea of creating a claim.